This is a basic guide on how to install a vanity countertop to your vanity. The tools you're going to need are a caulking gun, channel lock pliers, an adjustable wrench, and a tape measure. Your first step is to dry fit the vanity top. You're going to measure your vanity top and cabinet to verify the top will fit before you even start to put it on. For large vanity tops, make sure you get a second person to help you lift it on. And you're basically just going to want to set the vanity top onto the vanity without any glue or anything. The purpose of this is you can make sure everything's going to fit and you have the proper sink clearance and everything's cut properly for where you want your pipes and everything. Once you get everything on there and measured, this happens a lot with smaller vanities, or if you're combining small vanities to make a large vanity. So a lot of times your sink might need a little more clearance. In this case, you just cut a small notch into your vanity cabinet on the inside of the cabinet, as shown in the picture on the right side of your screen. This doesn't affect anything structurally, and you usually aren't going to see it once you get the top installed, so it's not a big deal. But you definitely need to do it if your sink needs the extra clearance. So once you make any alterations, you're going to put the top back on, remeasure, and just make sure everything's going to fit. Your next step is to attach the sinks to the vanity top if they're not already done. There's a couple ways to do this. The first way, you're going to want to hold the sink in position, so you're going to have your vanity top on your vanity. And you're going to want to hold the sink in position and line it up how you want it on the top. And then with a Sharpie, you're going to reach underneath and trace around the sink. You then remove the vanity top and place it upside down on a flat, soft surface so that you're not going to scratch your countertop in any way. You're then going to use acetone to clean the lip of the sink and the underside of the vanity top. This just clears off any dust, which will make it so the silicone doesn't stick as well. Once you have everything cleaned, you're going to apply a bead of silicone. We prefer clear, but really any color you want will work. So you're going to apply a bead of silicone adhesive to the lip of the sink and the underside of the vanity top, right around where the sink cutout is. You're then going to set the sink on the vanity top and position it using the tracing lines that you put on in the previous steps. Once you get everything lined up, the weight of the sink will usually be plenty of pressure to kind of pancake the silicone, and you're going to want to clean up anything that squeezes out before it dries. And you're then going to want to give it time to thoroughly dry before you move on, because the last thing you want is for you to lift up your top and your sinks to just fall off and break. There's another method of gluing the sinks. It's much more effective, it's much quicker, it is a little more difficult though. Is kind of what you see pictured on the right side of your screen. This method includes a bar clamp that you're going to run through the drain of your sink, and then you put a piece of 2x4 across the top. You can put a bead of silicone or epoxy on your sink and then just clamp it from underneath, and then you can line everything up on top and clean everything up. Your next step is to attach the faucets. This is much easier to do before you install your vanity top to the vanity. It just gives you a lot more clearance. You can get your tools in there and you don't have to do everything lying down. So for this, you definitely want to just follow the manufacturer's instructions that come with your faucet, since every faucet is different. But they are basically the same. You're basically just going to want to make sure all of your washers are in the correct position. You're going to want to start by attaching your supply lines to the faucet, putting the washer on the faucet portion that goes above the counter, and then just run everything through the holes, put on your other underneath washers, and then secure everything with the locking nuts. You want to make sure that the faucet is tight. You don't want it over tight in that you don't want to crack your top, but you definitely want it tight enough that nothing is going to move. Your next step is to secure the vanity top to your vanity. To do this, apply a bead of silicone adhesive. Again, clear is always nice, but you can use whatever color you want. So you're going to apply a bead of clear silicone adhesive to the lip of your vanity cabinet as shown in the picture. For larger vanity tops, again, it's good to have a second person to help you lift the vanity top onto the vanity just so you don't risk damaging anything. Once you get your vanity top placed, you're going to just put it in position. This is where the tape measure comes in handy again, so you can make sure everything's lined up on both sides, make sure everything's symmetrical. Once you put the vanity top on, the pressure and weight of that top is going to push out a lot of the silicone that you put on. So before it dries, you're going to want to make sure you clean up any silicone that you can see on the outside of your cabinet. And then you definitely want to give it plenty of time to dry before moving on. Your next step is to install the backsplash. If you got a solid piece of backsplash made of the same granite, it's pretty easy. Just run a bead of clear silicone on the bottom edge and put some construction adhesive on the back edge, and then set it into place. Clean up anything that squeezes out and let it dry. If you have a mosaic backsplash, just follow the instructions for installing mosaics. It's a little more complicated, but some people like the look. Your next step, once everything is dry, is to install your drain. This again, it's good to just follow the manufacturer's instructions, as every drain is a little different, but for the most part they are again the same. You're just going to want to put your drain in through the top, make sure you have the proper washers where they need to go, and then you'll have another one of those large locking nuts that you're going to screw on from the bottom. You again want the drain to be extremely tight, but not so tight that you're going to crack your sink. Once you get the drain attached, you're going to want to attach the P-trap. The purpose of a P-trap really is just to help keep large items from getting into your main drain and clogging it up further down the line. And then the U-shaped portion at the bottom will keep a bit of water in it to help keep sewer gases from seeping into your house and just making your bathroom smell bad. Your next step is to connect the water supply lines that are hanging down from your faucet. You want to attach them to the shutoff valves. You want to make sure your shutoff valves are in the off position. They should already be, otherwise your bathroom's probably flooded by now. So you want to start screwing it on with your hands just to make sure it's going on easy and you haven't cross-threaded anything. And then once you can't get it any tighter with your hands, you're going to want to use your adjustable wrench to finish tightening it. You definitely want this to be tight, since it's a compression fitting. If it's not tight, when you turn on the water, it's just going to spray everywhere. If you feel the need, or if you're having a slight drip, you can put some Teflon tape on the threads of your shutoff valve before you screw the supply line onto it. It's very important that once you have your supply lines attached and you're getting ready to turn the water, you want to turn the valves on very slowly. If you just crank them all the way open, the pressure from all that water shooting out into your faucet is likely to break a lot of your seals. So you want to start really slowly and just slowly build up the pressure until it's at full capacity. I'm just going to note real quick, the picture at the bottom right of your screen is a special type of fitting that goes into some types of faucets, especially single hole faucets. The double washer makes it so you don't really have to use any tools, just hand tight is fine in those cases, because a lot of single hole faucets, you just don't have the clearance to get tools inside of them to attach those supply lines. Your final and probably most important step is to test everything. You want to make sure there are no leaks coming from the faucet supply lines after you've added pressure to them. An extreme leak would be kind of what's pictured. It's probably going to be hard to miss something like that, but you definitely want to make sure there's no small drips or anything also. You want to turn on your faucet to make sure your hot and cold lines are in the proper location. If you turn on the hot side and it comes out cold, or vice versa, then you can just turn off your water and swap the lines. Your next test is going to be to engage your drain stopper and completely fill up your sink. You want to make sure that it's holding water, and look underneath with your sink filled and make sure none of your drain fittings are dripping or leaking. And then to test your P-trap and your main drain pipes, you're going to want to open the drain fully and let that full sink of water just rush into your drain and fill everything up really quickly. And that'll be when you can see if any of your P-trap connections are leaking. To clean your vanity top, it's really not that difficult. The main thing is you want to seal it. If you do not seal a granite or stone vanity top, it will stain and you usually won't be able to get it clean. So you definitely need to seal your vanity top. Once a vanity top is sealed, if you get water or something on it, it'll bead up like you see in the picture on the right of your screen. You know when it's time to reseal if instead of beading up it starts to absorb in again. The second you see a drop of water absorb, you're going to want to reseal. You usually only need to do this once every year or so, but it really just depends on usage. If it gets a ton of use, you might need to seal it a little more often. A lot of cleaners can be used to clean granite, but you want to make sure that the chemicals aren't going to take off the sealer that you've just put on. Some sealers, like Windex, can be used with sealed granite, but they are going to make the sealer not last as long. You want to clean up any spills immediately. Leaving stuff sitting on there, even if it is sealed, can stain it. A lot of stuff like acidic things, lemons, limes, I don't know why you'd have those in your bathroom, but you never know. A lot of that will stain the granite and just eat right through these sealers, so if you leave that on there overnight, you're going to have some etching and some stains. Another thing is makeup. A lot of makeup, some of them are acidic, some aren't, but they are usually colored. And again, anything that spills, if it's not cleaned up pretty quickly, it will stain.